Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, members of the press. Honorable Halifa Saleh will be speaking on behalf of the President today. Thank you.
This is the final phase of the beginning of the operation of the government under the executive authority of President Adama Barrow. He held a press conference and indicated that as of yesterday or today, he will pronounce his cabinet. I am here to tell you and invite you to the swearing-in ceremony of the ministers who have been appointed by him tomorrow. They are already told the portfolios they are going to hold, and it entails the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, the Ministry of Trade, Regional Integration and Employment, the Office of Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Minister of Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation and Gambians Abroad, Ministry of Youth and Sports, Ministry of Tourism and Culture, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Lands and Regional Government, Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Fisheries, Water Resources and National Assembly Matters, Ministry of Forestry, Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources. As of the 30th day of January 2017, those who are to be sworn in tomorrow have been appointed with effect from 30th January 2017. This comprises 11 ministries. There are still 7 ministries to be filled. The ministries which are now filled emerge out of a compact forged by the coalition, which President Barrow is trying to satisfy. The rest of the appointments of 7 other ministries will be determined based on the competencies of the individuals, their experiences, their professionalism. He's asked me to tell you that he is receiving recommendations from those who believe that certain Gambians would serve the nation to the best of their ability based on their competencies, and has started to discuss with those individuals, and will be interviewing all those people who are recommended so that he will come up with a decision that will serve the supreme interests of the Gambia. It is his duty under the Constitution to appoint the ministers and the Vice President. And he is assuring you that tomorrow the government will start to work. As soon as the ministers are sworn in, they will begin work immediately. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Hadbasana. We now invite questions from members of the press. Thank you. Name and institution, please.
Yeah, Sherry William. This is how you say it's 7 ministries field.
11 ministries are filled.
So 11 ministries filled, 7 left. And the 7 that are to be filled will be based on experiences and competencies. The 11 that have already been filled was born out of the compact of the coalition. How much of those appointments were based on experiences and qualifications, and how much was based on the fact that they are part of the coalition?
Well, I believe that nothing is said regarding competencies when we mention the ministers derived from the compact. It is simply saying that out of the compact, ministers were appointed. And I'm sure he must have taken due consideration of competencies to appoint them. Tomorrow, you will witness the swearing-in ceremony of each of them, and it will be left to you to determine whether that particular criteria of professionalism and experience were actually taken into consideration.
Good afternoon, Mr. Honorable Sala. I just wanted to ask whether you can give us the names of those.
Name and institution, please.
Okay. My name is Ministerial. I'm from the GFS. The name of those reserves that have already been appointed.
I have said that tomorrow there will be a swearing-in ceremony. It is important for people to realize the provision of the Constitution states very clearly that anybody who is appointed must be sworn in before assuming office. So we are not saying ministers just by virtue of the letters written to them, but when they are sworn in, they become ministers. This is why the names are being withheld until tomorrow when they are sworn in. Then you see your ministers.
Yes. The point I'm working. Mr. Sala, you said that 11 ministers will be sworn in tomorrow. How many when and how many men can you identify that? And how far with the appointment of the future Chief Justice General?
Well, I've emphasized here that the ministers will be sworn in tomorrow. I'm not really mandated to reveal the content. I believe as of tomorrow, all the secrecy will disappear. What the president wanted is for you to know that he has fulfilled his promise. He promised that he will do the appointment by today. I'm here to tell you that that has been done. They've received their letters, but they are not ministers yet until they are sworn in. And tomorrow they'll be sworn in, and you'll be able to do your gender analysis of the composition of the cabinet.
What about the Chief Justice? I said, how many?
Well, as I said, I'm limited to simply telling you what I have said. I'm sure tomorrow the president may be able to answer those questions, and maybe he would mandate people who would also answer that question.
Thank you, sir. My name is Lamin Jahade. I want to know how soon 7 ministers to be appointed will be appointed. It has taken you almost from the transition to today to appoint the 11, which is already part of the agreement you signed even before contesting the election. That's a long period of time. So how soon will it take you to scrutinize, vet, and appoint the 7
Well, we all know that even in countries like the United States, I'm sure you know that still the President of the United States has taken a long period to come up with a cabinet. In fact, it is simpler here. In many countries, you have to go to the Congress or the National Assembly for vetting of those ministers before they become substantive holders of those positions. I have no doubt that the actions that are being taken now is to speed up the process so that it will finish up this week. I am sure that it will not be beyond next week. But careful screening is being done to at least appoint people who will be accepted by the public as competent to handle those responsibilities. This is what it's trying to do, with the advice of all those who should give advice.
Thank you, Mr. Sala. My question is for you.
Name and institution.
My name is Pamun Val, President of the President. My question is outside of the appointment. Honorable Sala, I'm asking whether still government will maintain a clearance of civil servants when they are traveling or not, whether this clearance will be revoked, because it's a problem for civil servants. Thank you.
Well, clearly that's not within the purview of this press conference. And I'm sure that the President, including the ministers who are now going to be given responsibilities, would be addressing these issues as they unfold. Well, the qualifications are very clear. They are taken cognizance of by the President, and I would not doubt that all those conditions that you've mentioned, for example, if you have dual citizenship, you cannot hold a cabinet post in the Gambia. Certain terms of imprisonment are also required. It have been pardoned, but if you are pardoned, then they do not really serve as a bar to your assumption of cabinet post. So I'm sure those issues must have been taken cognizance of by President Barrow in constituting his cabinet.
Tomorrow what time? I said tomorrow the appointment.
It will be announced before the end of the press conference. Somebody else will be doing that announcement. That is before the end of the press conference.
My name is representing Agent Press. My question is, you made mention that the President is taking these things into consideration to ensure that the appointments are in tandem with the Constitution of the Gambia. Is the proposed vetting committee in operation to make sure that all appointments are in line with the Constitution of the Gambia?
Well, I know the President consults members of the executive committee, and I believe that that consultation is ongoing. So there is definite effort to consult and then come to a decision. So whether I can guarantee that the consultation has addressed all the issues, well, only after the appointments and after vetting by the general public could we come to such a conclusion. What we can say is that he has done his best to appoint. Now he will listen to the opinions of the general public to see what they have to say.
Assalamualaikum. Man lay laaj ci wolof bu bëgg a
waaw dëgg la li nga xam ne moom la ñuy waxtaanee tey mooy li président Barrow waxtaanoon ak taskati xibaar yi bi nga xamee ne njëlbéen bi mu am jotaay ak ñoom am na lu ñu ko laajoon mu tontu ne ñi nga xam ne ñoo war a yore mbiri réew mi bunti doxalini nguur gi ñuy leen a ooyee ministre ne kañ la leen a tànn mu ne du paase talaat mu wax nit ñi wax ju wér ne tànn na ñooña nga xam ne ñoo war a yore mbiri nguur gi bés bii nag njëriñam mooy wax nit ñi ne ci ëllëg ñi mu tànn dinañ leen waatloo ñi mu tànn nag toll na ci bunti fukk ak benn ci bunti doxalinu nguur gi koo xam ne kii ñooñu tànn la leen ba pare ñooñu nag ëllëg suñ leen waatloo ci saasi dañoo dal di dem jël bunt yooyu pour doxal ko mu des yeneen juróom-ñaari bunt yoo xam ne tànnin bi dafa wuute ndax tànnin bi jiitu la ca ëpp ci ñuy tànn li waral tànn ga am dañ boole ñaari yëf ndax baati réew mi daf ne suñuy tànn nit koo xam ne kii moo war a yore bunti nguur war naa nekk ku am xam-xam ca bunt ba war a nekk itam koo xam ne kii yëngatoom ca bunt ba ñu ne nag loolu foog mu bàyyi ko xel wante dafa am lu rax ci tànn bi ci wàllu ne moom pour mu nekk président dafa àndoon ak yeneen kuréel yi politique yoo xam ne ndig seen nangutoo ku nekk am na waar ca bunt yooya moo tax tànn bu jiitu bi li ci ëpp mooy tànn ay nit ci kuréel yi nga xam ne ñoo àndoon ak moom pour jéem a ut réew mi ba am ko yeneen juróom-ñaar yi nag mu ngi mel ni li mu ci séentu mooy ñu digal ko ba nga xam ne dina am ñoo xam ne seetuñ seen wàllu fi ñu toll woon ci mbiri politique xëy na sax laaluñu ko wànne nag nekk na ñoo xam ne doomi réew mi lañu ñu am xam-xam ñu am pas-pas ñu yëngatu woon ci bunt yi nga xam ne moom lañ la bëgg a sas ba ñëpp ràññee leen ci mu mel ni loolu mooy li des mu wax nag ne loolu du yàggaati daanaka ay fan rek lay jël pour mu tànn leen ndax gëstu bi mu ngi koy def di laaj ñu koy digal di segg itam ñi ñu ko jox ba ba mu d'accord ci kenn koo xam ne su ko wanee nit ñi ñëpp dinañ kontaan ne xëy na li mu def jaar na yoon waaw mu mel ni nag gannaaw man dañ ma fi taaj tey xëy na dina amati beneen press conference gannaaw bu tànn yépp amee su ko defee liggéey bi nga xam ne moom laa doon def ci jamono ji nga xam ne ñu ngi nekk ci transition bi mun ngeen ma cee laaj leeral loo xam ne lii mooy place boo xam ne bii am naa ko ca wala amuma ko ca itam ma jéem a leeral loolu nag beneen waxtaan laa dal di nekk waxtaani tey wi daal ñu ngi ko emalee ci moom li mu sant pour ma wax ko ndax askan wi ak àddina bi yëpp ko
members of the coalition, which is apparently the David position. Was this done already before the president arrived, or he gave it to as it was? Because the first put on his cabinet days today, and the rest is nothing. And the other issue is the coalition. You said the coalition, the appointments were derived from the pact that was agreed by members of the coalition. I understand that the coalition is made of 7 political parties and 1 independent candidate, making it 8. So what are the other 3 positions there? Understanding perhaps they are not members of the political parties or an independent candidate that form the coalition because they are 8.
Well, what I have said is to announce the ministries with ministers appointed. They'll be sworn in tomorrow, and the analysis will come. You can make all sorts of analysis after the ministers are sworn in.
ndax ci coalition bi rek la yem wala yéen a ngi yort ne mën ngeen a yokk yeneen doomi réew yoo xam ne ñu ngi bitim réew seen xam-xam màcc ci wàllu doxalinu réew jërëjëf.
waaw xam nga loolu wax naa ko mu leer daanaka mbéyam ci biir ñi nga xam ne tànn nañ leen démb am na ci ñoo xam ne xëy na li nga wax sax ne li tax ñu tànn leen mooy seen wàllu xam-xam nekkul ne dañu bokkoon ci coalition wante am na juróom-ñaari bunte yoo xam ne jubluwaay bi yépp mooy pour tànn ñoo xam ne ay doomi réew mi lañu fu ñu mun a jógee nag kenn seetu ko wante nag ci baati réew mi su fekkee ne da nga am nekk doomi réew yi Gambia jëlaat beneen doomi réew yaa bu beneen réew mu ngi mel ni doo mun a nekk ci biir cabinet yi Gambia nekk fi ministre mu mel ni nag wante doomi Gambia boo xam ne bi nekkuloo doomi jëlloo doomi réew yaa yi beneen réew mu ngi mel ni soo matalee li nga xam ne moom lañu séntu ci sa xam-xam ak sa man-man mu ngi mel ni bokk nga ci koo xam ne kii xam na fa suñu nit ñooñu mun naa yëbaane loola te am na lu wér ne dina bokk ci li muy seet ci tànn bi nga xam ne mooy ñëw bon nag bunte bu ubbeeku la rek ci mboolem koo xam ne kii mun na koo xalaat ne kii mun naa def liggéey ba.
Are there any former minister or ministers among the new cabinet?
Name and institution.
Salam Serekya, freelance.
I think I have made it very clear that my role is to tell you the ministries which now have substantive ministers to preside over them, to exercise direction and control over them. The fact is clear. The people actually handling the responsibility will be sworn in tomorrow. I think that is the news element that will be made tomorrow. And you will see them physically and take their photograph and tell the world that here they are. That is the objective.
Standard newspaper. Mr. Sal, we understand that there is a think tank established for design, looking into or point out the qualified and experienced candidates to fill in vacancies in the new administration. During the previous press conference, the president said that these people, these thinkers, that they will be revealed to the public when the time is right. My question is, don't you think it is time now for Gambians to know who these thinkers are and for them to determine whether or not they are in fact qualified to vet these ministers or these people that are set to fill in the new government?
Well, if you bear in mind the date of the press conference and today, I think it's a short distance, short time frame, that he has actually done what he promised to do. And I have no doubt that within the shorter time frame, the rest of the ministerial portfolios will be filled, and the rest will be left to deal with the think tank. These are mechanisms that he has endorsed and will serve the government. I am sure when everything is completed, the information will be known to the public.
My name is Sarah Kamara from Starlight Radio. My question is, have ministers appointed started that they usually their assets? So have they started declaring their assets? And the other question is, looking at the Ministry of Youth and Sports, sports have been a success in this country. Do you think that it's right to separate sports from youth? Thank you very much.
Well, your last question, when you inherit a government, a government always has estimates of revenue and expenditure, which is presented before the National Assembly in December, approved, then a law is created called an Appropriation Act. And that Appropriation Act will specify all the expenditures of government. It will list down all the ministries and their personnel, their ministers, their whole budget line, and that is what is approved by the National Assembly to become the Appropriation Act. So when you take over government, you don't automatically change that. You have to start from there. His appointments is all based on what is already established by the Appropriation Act. And then after that, you review the situation and you may come up with the changing of ministries, enlarging them or combining them. That is another action that the government does when it wants to reform. And then from that reform, you come up with new estimates and a supplementary appropriation bill, which is taken to the National Assembly. If approved, it becomes a supplementary appropriation act that changes the nature of the government structure. So if you have any proposals, I'm sure it is good a time to give that to the President so that in his evaluation of whatever civil service reform or public service reform will be undertaken, that may be taken into consideration. The first question was, well, they are yet to be ministers. When you are appointed, you are appointed. Unless you are sworn in, you cannot assume office. That's why we are saying tomorrow they'll be sworn in to assume office. And those are the questions that could be asked tomorrow to whoever is presiding over that swearing-in ceremony.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Margaret, our photo journalist. First of all, I would like His Excellency, Adam Barrow, and also for you to conduct this very important meeting to inform people what you are up to. Now, let me take you back. I'm concerned with why the names are not being announced. With the tradition, we always know that, of course, when there is an appointee or when a minister is to be appointed, the name is supposed to be announced, and then with the swearing ceremony following. So why? What's the problem? What's holding on? The names have not been announced because we are very much worried and we are concerned about that. You're telling us, yes, the names should be declared tomorrow when they're supposed to be sworn in. What is holding on? Why the names is not announced? Thank you.
I didn't say that the names will be announced tomorrow. I'm saying the ministers will be sworn in tomorrow. Even if you announce the names, they are yet to be ministers. I think that is the point that is missed. That they are not ministers until they are sworn in to assume office.
Okay, can we know their names so we can say that I am at the minister?
Well, I'm sure if you go on the online, you will see that type of treatment of government affairs where people will give you information that they call insider information. Well, I'm not here to give you insider information. I'm simply telling you that certain individuals have received their appointments and that they received it since yesterday. So they know themselves now and they will be summoned to come before you tomorrow to be sworn in. Appointment. Well, I think, yes, I'm saying they are written to, and I hope that you will not want this government to repeat the mistakes of the past, because you can send an appointment to somebody and the person write back and say, I don't accept it. So appointment is sending information to a person that you are now going to be this. And when they are sworn in, they are exactly what they have been told. So we are simply saying that we've named the ministries, and tomorrow you'll come to see who the ministers are.
Do you know if they all have responded back to the president to say, I accept your appointment?
Well, okay, I think you must understand the mandate of this press conference is simply to terminate the impasse and help you to put dates and time to things and to put a framework to constitutional procedures. You may refuse to accept the procedures, you may accept it. But essentially you are being told that unless a minister is sworn in, the minister is not a minister. This is what you are told. And you are told to come here tomorrow, and it will be announced very soon when that time is going to be for you to know who the ministers are. Yeah, you can go and ask that. Yeah, go ahead. This one. You are saying?
The President promised us on Saturday that he's going to unveil the cabinet latest today. And what is happening if he's not unveiling it?
Well, that's an opinion. We are just simply saying that the President told you that by today he would have completed one part of his ministerial appointment, and you've been told that that has been done, and that they will be coming to be sworn in tomorrow.
My name is Ibuwa, and I just asked this question. I'm not sure if it is going to be within your mandate as well. But I would like to know, you said these 11 ministers will be sworn in tomorrow. And once they are sworn in, they hit the ground running, which means they're going to take their positions in their ministries. I would like to know, would they require the presence of the former ministers so that they can be properly handed over matters at those ministries, or does it matter?
Well, the permanent secretary, the ministers have the role to exercise direction and control over ministries. But under each minister is a permanent secretary who exercises direction and control of those ministries under the minister. So the permanent secretaries are custodians of the institutional memory of each ministry. And consequently, what has been done immediately after President Barrow was sworn in as president was to instruct the Secretary General to contact all the permanent secretaries, to have close to their chest their strategic plans, their policies, their action plans, their programs, their projects, their budget lines, so that once the ministers are appointed, they will go and work directly with them and everything will function smoothly. That is the groundwork that has already been done. But notwithstanding, here and there, some of the ministers may wish to cooperate in giving more information to the new ministers. That will be a good working relation. I'm sure that no minister will hesitate to welcome such an enterprise.
Thank you very much, Honorable